Before we started, you talked a little bit about IQ and the age of
Mm-hmm.
IQ. I was wondering if you would be willing to elaborate on that a little bit.
Absolutely. I grew up in the age of IQ, and as we talked about it, that age is still with us quite a bit. My sixth grade teacher seated us around the room in IQ order.
Oh, no.
And it was already the top IQ class in the school. So it was a heavy emphasis on innate or inborn intelligence, which is ironic because it turns out that Alfred Binet, the guy who invented the IQ test, had a radical growth mindset. He just created the test so he could identify kids who weren't profiting from their current curriculum and make new programs to get them back on track. He believed the most basic capacity to learn could be transformed through education. And yet Americans took his test to say they were measuring a fixed intelligence.
I remember getting an IQ test, and I guess I overheard my parents talking to the teacher, and I guess I did okay. It wasn't great, but the what I came away with it from was I was average. I had an average brain.
And therefore, where did you focus your energies?
Probably on being social and what I was good at, which
Yeah.
is being a silly goose and funny, which is now how I pay the bills. But certainly,
Yeah.
I just didn't think I had the math gene or any of that. Now, that's not my parents' fault, by the way. I don't want to. My parents were fantastic about everything, and they understood. I think certainly my father understood that life was about growth.
But in my book, I talk about a Nobel Prize-winning scientist who went back and got his grade school records and saw that he had a low IQ or a not very high IQ. And he said, had he known that, he never would have gone for the career.
You have a lot of examples of people in the book
Yeah.
who were pretty famous and the leaders of thought in their field who were branded sort of less than intelligent or at least
Yes.
average
Yes.
intelligence.
And the important point is there is no test that tells you what you are capable of in the future if you attack it with a passion.
And the right tutelage.
Yes.
Yeah, that's very
Well, and I mean, I think, would you also mind telling us a little bit about Terman, the man who hijacked the IQ test?
Well, Terman was at Stanford. And my life's mission is to undo his mischief.
Terman sounds like a villain in a movie anyway.
He is.
Damn Terman!
And he also had termites as well.
He did have, he had a group of kids that he identified as gifted.
Wow.
And how did those kids do?
They didn't do as well as you might have expected, and I think part of it might have been labeling them as gifted.
Because they don't have to work as hard.
And putting that pressure on them, be brilliant. And as you're saying, the implication is without working as hard or struggling like the other kids.
And in the group that he didn't select, he missed, I think, 2 Supreme Court justices. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I think that for me, that story has always really demonstrated the power of the IQ test versus the power of mindset.
Yes. And that IQ test probably put those kids into a fixed mindset. It goes with our research where we show praising kids' intelligence puts them into a fixed mindset and makes them vulnerable.
Yeah, well, that's why I will always tell my child from now on, something to the effect of, boy, you really work hard. I love watching how hard you work.
Yeah, or you used a good strategy, or you really stuck to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I my wife and I have sometimes talks about this because I tend to worry when she tells my daughter, you know, she gets pretty competitive as a mother, and so she wants my daughter to be the best at this or that, and then is very proud when she is. But life is long, and my daughter's going to have her share of failures because that's how it goes in this world. We always have these talks about, listen, she did well today in this, but you know, there's a lot of work to be done.
And how does your wife hear that?
Well, she's going to read Mindset. In fact, I'm gonna read it to her out loud twice, and I'm not kidding about that. I think it's she never thought she could ride horses. She thought that was for someone else. She thought it was way too late and all that stuff, and it's changed her life. And why? Because she has an amazing teacher who has slowly but surely forced her to confront her fears and gotten her into taking action on the horse, and she's an excellent rider now, which has literally changed not only her life, but the way she raises her kids and the way she looks at everything. And I take full credit for that. No reason why. I just like to do that.